Well, the Northeast Delta Human Services Authority hosted a very unique screening at Tinseltown today. The film includes how the opioid epidemic began and how pharmaceutical companies played a role. Around 200 medical professionals attended. It's all designed to help those battling addiction.
At the beginning, our executive director opened it up and kind of explained why we were there, what was the purpose and what our intention and what we were trying to do. And then afterwards, we had a discussion with him where it was open for them to ask any questions, be able to kind of process and talk about their feelings and kind of how they were thinking and feeling afterwards. And then for us to also identify what our treatment modalities were that we're able to provide.
And the agency is hosting an opioid summit coming up on June 13th.